Welcome to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, the show where curiosity meets the open road. I'm your host Alistair, and I invite you to join me as we explore the world through travel, adventure, nature, and the power of learning. Each episode we dive into inspiring stories from adventurers, educators, and global citizens. Whether it's in a classroom, on a local trail, or adventuring halfway across the world, there are stories to be told and lessons to share. So pack your curiosity, lace up your boots, and let's discover how the world can teach us all, one step, one story, one adventure at a time. Originally from Indiana, Zach grew up in the Indianapolis metro area before moving to New Mexico. A lover of all things outside from a young age, he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk by studying geography and immediately working in the outdoors. Now homesteading in New Mexico, Zach is dedicated to promoting diversity in the outdoors, protecting public lands, and championing trail conservation for generations to come. We'll dive into his journey from the Midwest to the Southwest, what inspires him to keep our trails open and wild, and how we can do our part to make the outdoors more welcoming for everybody. So stay tuned, you will not want to miss this conversation with Zach Darden. So on this week's episode, we have Zach Darden all the way from neighboring New Mexico. Zach, how are you today?
I am doing great. I cannot complain. It is not 100 degrees today over here in New Mexico, so it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's hot here, but not 100, so I'll take it. I'm not going to complain, because I'm very aware that in a couple of weeks here in North Texas, it could be. So I'm going to take this and run with it. This would be just fine. Well, Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Let's get stuck into this.
Yeah, no, for sure. So my name is obviously Zachary Darden. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. Moved out here to New Mexico the first time in about 2010. Kind of started getting interested in like conservation work just because of like different field trips and different things I was taking as kids, going up to the mountains and whatnot. And as I got older, I just kind of followed that passion. So I'm a previous park ranger here for the state of New Mexico, but currently work as an open space resource specialist for Bernalillo County, like here in Albuquerque. So I'm also an avid scuba diver. I also I consider myself a homesteader. I built like a small little like ranch here out here in the outskirts of Rio Rancho in the western side of New Mexico. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me. So hopefully you guys are somewhat interested in what I got to say.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we had on somebody who's really passionate about scuba diving. So I'll need to
Nice.
connect you guys together.
Yeah.
She is from and lives in Minneapolis, and her passion, her life's work is trying to expose those in inland states like
That's
Indiana to the ocean, to the fish, to the everything that's in there. So I'll need
that's
to make sure that you and Liz Coltonhauser get together.
No, that'd be fantastic. I mean,
That would
obviously,
be
I'm in one of the driest states in the country, so it's like kind of counterintuitive to be a scuba diver.
That's awesome. Well, it's funny you bring up straight away field trips. That's as somebody who's in public education. That's one of my passions because often I've talked about this before. We'll take sort of quote unquote inner city urban kids out on field trips, and their eyes just open. They get to see a world they didn't know before, and they
That's
kind of shed their armor a bit. And they just, instead of becoming kind of hardened individuals, they're just babies. They're just
yeah,
kids playing
yeah,
with sticks, playing with rocks, and it's had a profound impact on me. So I love to hear that,
yeah.
field trips had that on you. Now, in terms of your family, were you like an outdoors kind of family, or was that more driven by the field trips in school?
Really, I mean, kind of both. Yeah. So it's kind of funny that you brought that up. Just how, like, yeah, the kids as soon as they get outside, they start playing with sticks and bugs and everything, and they just like kind
Right.
of get super wide eyed about it. Because that's exactly how I was as a kid. Like we had a little creek in our backyard, so me and my brother spent most of our time out there, just kind of like fishing in the creek and playing in the forest and just kind of just hanging out there. And my dad, he introduced me to like camping and fishing and hunting and all of that kind of jazz like at a young age. So I mean, it kind of just stuck with me. And then yeah, going on different field trips and on vacations when we were in kind of like these more remote and like wilderness kind of spaces, it just once again like just felt like home to me. So it just kind of connected me to want to actually maybe do this as a career. I mean, it's something that I always say to myself, like I'm going to places right now for like work that I would be going anyways, like if I wasn't working there. So yeah,
That's
definitely been
awesome.
involved with it. I feel like my entire life. Like it's just the outdoors are kind of where I call home, and I'd rather be outside than I don't know, sitting in a cubicle. So it works out.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm in education and teaching is I want every day to be different. And sitting
Mhm.
behind a desk all day is not for me. I'm inside a lot, so that's fine. But I'm always trying to get outdoors, and yeah, I couldn't be in a cubicle either. I
Yeah, it's nice when
completely
it's 100
relate.
degrees outside. I'll say that. When it's like
There is
100,
that.
put me in the cubicle.
Yeah, if it's 100 degrees, give me some desk work. That'll be absolutely fine. Yeah. So
Exactly.
now, a lot of the people that I've spoken to are really into the outdoors, a bit like myself, are really into the green spaces. Appalachia, the Northwest. They're off
Mhm.
to Maine. What's drawn you to the Southwest? That's arid. In my mind, that's tough.
Yeah,
Like that's a tough landscape. But
yeah,
there's a certain kind of person that's drawn to that.
yeah.
And what's drawn you to that?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I agree 1,000%. It's definitely a rough landscape. I mean, most of the creatures that live here have to be pretty hardy just to exist out here. Well, and the first time, like I said, I moved out here was in 2010. I was pretty young. And I had actually never been to a desert before. Like growing up in Indianapolis, I mean, it's more like kind of green, flat, cornfieldy. I mean, you have like some kind of rolling hills in like the southern portion of the state, but nothing like this. So when I came out here, it just kind of struck a nerve that I'm like, man, this is insane. Like the environment is so different. Like there's these huge mesas, there's like volcanoes, there's mountains, there's plains. Like there's just such a vast like variety of geography here that I think that's what kind of sparked my interest is just how different the Southwest is from any place I'd ever been and how it can shift so quickly. I mean, I can start my day like here in like kind of this low hanging like arid desert to actually getting up to the mountains to some of like the ponderosa pines and the white aspens and just really like those real high kind of 10,000 foot elevation zones, which is kind of insane. So I think yeah, just the variety of the land is literally what like kind of it struck my imagination. And then also too, there's a lot of culture in the Southwest. I mean, just coming out here and learning about like some of the outlaws like Billy the Kid or like some of like the Buffalo Soldiers and all these different like stories of people that have kind of like traversed over this land. It just yeah, it just felt like a place that I kind of want to imagine myself living, and that's kind of why I stayed out here.
Right.
Beautiful.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, and it's someplace that I think we stereotypically think is very hot, which it is, but I'm pretty
Yes.
sure that it can also get very cold as well. I'm sure that varies on the
Oh.
elevation.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we've it's kind of weird too because that's the thing, especially kind of living out where I live, it's kind you kind of have to be ready for everything. I mean, yeah, we have these 100-degree summers and then in the wintertime, I mean, I've seen it get down to like the -15, -20 range, which is kind of insane. I mean, it's just really
right.
one extreme to another, and you just really have to be kind of prepared for anything, really. Like they always say, like if you don't like the weather in New Mexico, wait 10 minutes and it'll change.
Right, right. And it's somewhere it's a neighboring state to me, but I've only explored just two tiny corners of it. I've been to the northeast corner, which if anyone drives from the Dallas Metroplex where I am to Colorado, you carve around through the very corner of the northeast. And
Yeah,
then I've also been to the southeast.
yeah,
Um, I went hiking in the Guadalupe Mountains, but I've just touched a little bit. So I've said to my wife a few times, I need to get out to Albuquerque to Santa Fe. I want to see these adobe homes. I
yeah.
mean, truly ancient history lives in these hills.
Yeah, and it's
I want to see some of it.
such a big state too, and I think that's the other thing that kind of drives my interest with the Southwest. It's just how vast it actually is. I mean, New Mexico as a whole is like the fifth biggest state in the nation, and where you're at, Texas, second biggest state. I mean, we just have some
Right.
huge like expanses of land here, and it just changes so drastically. I mean, I got a chance to explore was it Carlsbad Caverns last summer, and
Yeah.
that was just insane. I mean, I literally felt like I was in a different planet, and that's only a couple hours from where I live right now. So yeah, just so much to like see and explore, and if anything, like I can spend just a lifetime just in exploring this one state, let alone like Nevada, Arizona, like all the other ones. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, something that I try to talk to anyone who will listen is, we see people, especially on social media and stuff, going to far off places and exotic lands, and
Yeah.
it's amazing, seeing
Yeah.
amazing, incredible places. But pretty much wherever you are, there's so much right around you. You just got to look through
Absolutely.
that lens.
Absolutely.
North Texas is not the most exciting outdoorsy kind of place, but yet if you look, you'll find incredible, beautiful places, and I'm sure it's the same
Definitely.
there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of the thing I tell people just with the desert as a whole is that, I mean, most people look at these desert landscapes as kind of like this lifeless, brown, just dry, just nothing environment. But it's like, yeah, when you really get into like the weeds of like the desert, I mean, there's a lot of like variety of life here. I mean, we have things as small as like, oh, like a tarantula hawk wasp to things as like as big as an antelope kind of running through here. We have mountain lion. We have all kind of different just variety of just organisms in this one space that yeah, it's not just like this lifeless, dry, kind of dusty environment that everybody pictures it is. So yeah, it's super, super interesting.
Yeah, you might just have to dig a little deeper, possibly, to see
Yeah.
all this incredible stuff. But it's there, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's there, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me how you got into it. I believe you studied geography, right, at the
I
Indiana. Was it Indiana University?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of went through a kind of strange transition when I first moved out here. So I stayed out here, like I said, for several years, and I ended up going back to Indiana and finished high school there, started college, and my original major like was motorsports engineering because I that's another
Wow.
passion of mine is I do like to work on cars, like engines kind of spark some interest in me, but I was just like there was just something missing about it. I was like, okay, this is cool, it's whatever, but not only A, was it way too much math that I want to deal with, but two, it was just like that. This isn't, it doesn't feel right to me. So yeah, I actually switched my major three times. I went from motorsports engineering to environmental science to somehow landing on geography. And I think something about geography just felt right because like I said, I like studying landscapes. I like studying like the way that the topography of the land like shifts and things like that. And that's kind of what geography is all about. So yeah, I did a focus in GIS, which is like the geographic information systems, like a mapping application. And yeah, I started kind of getting my like toes into that by actually doing an internship with the Forest Service, kind of mapping some of their like different trail systems in a mountain range called Mount Taylor, which was really cool. And yeah, it's just I don't know, it just felt really good to me. So I stuck with that. I think halfway through my college experience, like in 2018, is when I moved back out here to New Mexico, and yeah, just kind of started my, I guess, work in conservation as like working as like a trail lead on like this like organization called Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, where we were building like hiking trails, like kind of cross cutting trees, just doing a lot of really labor intensive conservation work. I mean, it was fun, but it was exhausting and hard. And I actually tore my rotator cuff doing it. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, and then yeah, just that kind of branched on to other conservation jobs that I've kind of done here. But yeah, geography was the way, and that was a super long answer to such a short question. So hopefully I didn't lose
No,
y'all there.
no. This is what we want because any long answer leads to more questions.
Yeah,
So I find this because I think being a park ranger is kind of like you are actually a park ranger. Is that correct? At one
yeah.
point.
So I was, so yeah, I kind
Yeah.
of, like I said, started out building trails. Then I started, the next job is kind of doing outdoor education. So there's a small company out here called Cottonwood Gulch Expeditions, and they lead kids on like
Mhm.
different wilderness treks, and like they teach them how to camp and they do things like that. And it's kind of crazy because the founder of that organization is also from Indianapolis, like where I'm from, which was kind of ironic. And yeah, I just made a lot of different connections with that job and connections with the previous job, like Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. And it led me to actually partnering with like some park rangers through this organization called Albuquerque Opens or Albuquerque, the city of Albuquerque's Open Space Division. And yeah, they had asked me like midway through my season, like, hey, like we have this part-time role open up in the fall. Your season ends like around that time. Would you be interested in working for us? And I mean, I was kind of hesitant because it wasn't really paid a lot. I was still in college. It was going to be a huge transition, but I was like, you know what? Just screw it. Like, I'm going to try it and see what happens. And then, yeah, that's what led me into being a part time park ranger. And then did that for probably about 5 or 6 months. And then I landed a full time role with that organization. And I stayed with them for almost 4 years, which was like, yeah, some of the best experiences I've had in my career world were like working as a park ranger. And that's actually what led me into my current role now as like a resource specialist. So it's just kind of cool, like seeing how all these different conservation agencies, like in New Mexico, all kind of tie together. And it's just, yeah, it's just, I never, never once would have thought like, oh, this random kid, me moving from Indiana to New Mexico would have been on this journey that I'm on. So it's been kind of pretty exciting.
It's so good that they're all working together for a common goal. And I'm sure
100%.
there's some disagreement and politics, and that's life. But it's nice that everyone's together, though.
Yeah, no,
Now
definitely.
it's I've
Yeah, and
spoken to a
it's
few people who do trail maintenance. You know, they go on the Appalachian Trail or local trails. They go wherever and they pick up trash and they remove trees. And how do you go about building a trail? Like, what's the mindset and the process to go from kind of here's an idea, we need a trail from A to B, to
yeah,
actually opening up to the public? If you could kind of talk me through that, I think that would be really
yeah.
interesting.
No, for sure. Yeah. So that's the thing about it. When I first learned that I was going to be constructing hiking trails, I mean, I envision it as just like, oh, you pick a spot and you just cut all the trees and make a path in the end. But it wasn't. Yeah, there was this whole kind of intricate, almost like scientific process that goes behind it. Where, I mean, the first thing is obviously, yeah, you do want to pick like a location, and there's a couple different factors that you want to keep in mind. Like, okay, well, is this trail going to go through any like habitat? Is it going to go through any cultural ruins? Is it going to go through anybody's property line? So there's all these different factors that you have to keep in mind before you even like put boots on the ground. And after that, once you kind of have your trail like in mind of where it's going to go, it checks off all those boxes. Then we have to go in. We actually have to start flagging the trail, which is sometimes a little bit more intensive than I guess most people imagine it is because the thing about it is like you have to use all these different tools to do it. So like an example, there's this tool called a clinometer, and it's a weird little tool. It's like it actually kind of looks like a little like monocle or a spyglass, whatever you like, tiny little thing you look through. But you have to look through it and keep one eye open and like also like try to look at the land at the same time. So I guess both eyes are open if that makes sense. And what
Yeah,
it does is it measures the grade of the land. So you can't put your trail on like too pitched of a slope because obviously it's going to erode and then run off and that's going to like damage your trail. But you can't make it completely level either because yeah, same thing. It could flood. The snow is going to start eventually like accumulating and that's going to erode your trail. So we use the clinometer to measure what's called like the half rule. So let's say that your grade is at 20%. Like you want to have your trail go at 10% of that grade. So kind of like trying to factor in that. And the thing about it too is that some trails are really easy to design if you're in like a pretty, I don't know, like temperate environment or if like the like you're not on really steep terrain or there's not like bad weather. But yeah, when you're on like these super rocky ridges or like way out in the mesa and there's no shade coverage or anything, like that can be kind of a tedious process to go through and like do the half rule and flag all the like I guess terrain. And then once you do that, then you finally go through and like, okay, like now you have to remove some of the bigger trees, either by chainsawing or cross cutting. Then after that, then you finally start establishing in like your drainages. So it's like a whole process to really get these trails like established. And I think it really just depends on A, the crew that you're working with, and B, kind of like the terrain you're working with. Because yeah, I mean, I've seen trails that we've taken almost a year just to like map out and flag and we finally start working on it and then 6 months later it's just completely gone because yeah it got washed away or somebody didn't measure the grade correctly or sometimes even just users like the visitors that come through won't want the trail there and they're going through like different logs and just slash and stuff in it and close off what we've done, which is kind of irritating. So it's a process for sure.
yeah. I've been following. There's a small group who they're trying to make a trail. Well, they are making a trail called the XTX Trail, which goes all the way across Texas.
Mm,
Um, they have lofty goals, but I think they're going to do it. They have the people behind it of
yeah.
basically making it like a Southern Appalachian Trail almost. You know, it's long. Of course, it's going all the way across Texas at
Wow.
its longest point, ending kind of near Big Bend,
Wow.
so just south of you. And it looks amazing. Like they want to make it for bikes, for equestrian, for hiking. And I
Mhm.
was really interested in listening to the guy's story. I wish I could remember his name, but
Mhm.
it's the ex Texas Trail, I think, on Instagram. Because he was saying one of the challenges was Texas has so much private land.
Yes.
So the trail was going to have to navigate around, and
Mhm.
they prepared a whole spiel about trying to convince people to let them go, skirt around their land and this, that, and the
Mhm.
other. But
Mhm.
he was taken aback because actually he said every single person, every single rancher, they're almost always ranchers, that they encountered said, no, we want it to go through our land.
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
you mind if we build some lean-tos, some this, some that, charge people $5 a night?
Mhm.
Next to nothing, but just to generate some extra income and
Yeah.
just bring tourist dollars to the area, which I
Yeah.
just thought was fascinating because they were surprised and I was surprised, but people were so welcoming to the
Yeah.
idea of this trail. They're like, they were fighting, they wanted it on their land.
Yeah, see, and that's such a like refreshing feeling when people like they respond like that because yeah, I feel like I've ran into kind of a mix of both where yeah, I ran into people like, yes, please build a trail through my property. Like that'd be really cool. Then like I can work with some of the visitors and blah blah blah. And then I've also met other people that want absolutely nothing to do with it. And like I said, they're closed off the work that we've done and they try to bring us to court and like all these crazy things. So it's just yeah, it's just kind of mix of both. Like some people are super supportive of it and other ones are just like get the hell away from me. I want nothing to do with like your project. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some people who move to New Mexico, Texas, other rural places to get
Hmm.
away from everybody for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So the last thing they want is people hiking through their trail or through their
Exactly.
property, potentially not following leave no trace, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I get it. I understand. It's not me, but I understand why some people want that. Just to keep that solitude.
Yeah.
So
100%.
open space is who you work for now. Is that correct? Is that a county division?
Yep, that's correct. And
Um,
just kind of like what
yeah.
you were saying before, about like a lot of these agencies like working together. It's kind of crazy because there's actually two different open space organizations in the same city. So yeah, there's the city of Albuquerque's open space division, and that's the one that yeah I did my kind of my park ranger work with, and then there's the like Bernalillo County's open space division, and that's who I'm working for right now. But kind of same mission, same name. A lot of their properties can join together, but still two different agencies, which sometimes they want to work together and sometimes they won't, which is just really strange to me.
Right. And
Hmm.
then, how is there kind of like an outdoors culture there? Are there people who are out on the trails a lot, or are you
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of trying to create something and hopefully draw people out, or is there already that base of people in
Oh,
Albuquerque and surrounding areas?
oh, yeah. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but if I recall, I think either one third or two-third of land in New Mexico is public land. I could be wrong about that number, but
Wow.
it's pretty high up there. So especially here in Albuquerque, I mean, that's what actually draws a lot of people like to the city is because of like outdoor access. I mean, you have like the Sandia Mountain Range, which is like super popular. People want to go explore that. I mean, you have like the Bosque, which is like the forest along the Rio Grande. I mean, you have like the Petroglyph National Monument. I mean, there's a lot of different areas just here in Albuquerque that people really don't have to venture too far out of town just to actually see these like wilderness spaces. So, yeah, I would say there's definitely a huge outdoor kind of like enthusiast population here in Albuquerque, and it's just growing too. I mean, like just in my time of living in New Mexico, I've seen like just a huge like almost kind of movement of people just coming out here for that exact reason, which is good because I mean we're getting more people into the outdoors, which is kind of the goal. But in my opinion, it's also bad because you're getting a lot of people that don't respect the land, that don't respect like some of these natural places, and yeah, they come through and trash it or set things on fire, and that's just always been kind of an issue too. So mix of both.
Yeah. Yeah, that a lot of the sort of the big outdoorsy influencer people that I follow often talk about gatekeeping, and
Yeah,
it's a constant struggle, right? And there's no right answer to the situation. But if
yeah.
they've got making up numbers, if they've got 1 million followers and they go hiking, there's that debate about whether they should post where they are,
Hmm.
because you don't want to be holding these things back. They're public lands, there for everyone, and we want everyone out there. But
Exactly.
then sometimes you get everybody out there, and the place is just littered with, again, people not following the leave no trace principles. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you're experiencing something very similar, where it's a constant
Yeah.
struggle, I imagine, of wanting
Yeah.
everybody but wanting people to adhere.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like an example, like I always tell people, at least coming out here, is that we have these hot springs, like kind of near where I live, actually, called the San Antonio Hot Springs, and they're up in the Jemez Mountains. They're beautiful natural springs, from like the magma chamber that's underground. Um, And at first, when I like came out here, like they were pretty remote. Like nobody really knew about them. They were just kind of like that little hidden gym up in the mountains that people would go to and just like spend a relaxing weekend. And I noticed once that All Trails app got super popular, now the springs are just like, yeah, they turn into kind of like a little party spot. You see people up there with their big like JBL speakers and beer cans everywhere, and like sometimes people let their dogs get in the springs. And I mean, they're still a beautiful space, but since they are kind of remote and out there, like they don't really get a lot of enforcement from like the Forest Service or Game and Fish or anything like that. So then yeah, you get some of these people that just look at these as like, oh, like there's these hot tubs up in the mountains, let's go up there and get drunk and trash it all. So that's just been something that I just seen as it's a little concerning to me. Just because, yeah, like you just, I don't know, you really don't want to, like you said, gatekeep these things from people. But I just think there sometimes has to be more education, like how people can like learn to leave no trace principle, and how they can learn to, hey, like, make sure if you come into a space, like you're respecting like the environment, like you're not like making a ton of noise, and like just, I don't know, it's not a jungle gym. Like that's the way I always try to inform people. And also too, we live in such a dry environment out here, is that when you get people coming from, I don't know, the Pacific Northwest, where it's always wet all the time, and they're starting their little campfires up there and it's not a big deal, they try to bring that same energy down here. And that's why we have these huge like wildfires starting like up just
Hmm.
left and right down here, which has been kind of another major issue.
Right, and yeah, you're absolutely right. It's education. It's people can still go and have a good time and hang out with their friends and have a drink if they want, but there's a way of doing it that maintains it for the next person and the next
Exactly.
person down the
Exactly.
line. Don't litter the ground with beer cans and then just take off.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly. I mean, I
it's
was,
definitely.
yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's even something when I was a park ranger, I would encourage people. It's just bring a little like Walmart bag or trash bag with you, and just like if you see things along the way, just pick it up. I mean, that was the easiest way people would help us, was just, yeah, like kind of being a steward of their own land. Like I'm like, hey, you're already going out there. Like obviously don't pick up something like dangerous, like if there's like a needle or broken glass or whatever. But if it's safe to pick up, then then yeah, just help us out, because clearly like there's more land than we have time to like, or energy to go all clean. So yeah, we have people out there, just we try to encourage them to like, hey, if you see something that we didn't see, just can you just help us out a little bit?
Yeah, no, I love it. Now I know something that's important to you is actively bringing diversity to the outdoors, and I
Absolutely.
think that's something that we all agree is a good thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll be like, being frank and honest, especially as like a white guy. I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
want the diversity. I like the diversity. I love it when you see people of different colors, different ages,
Mhm.
old people, young people, male, female.
Yeah.
I love it. It
Yeah.
just brings a color and a spice to the outdoors. But
Exactly.
how is it that you can go about actively exposing the outdoors to people?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I would say is just me being like a face of diversity in like the outdoor field. I mean, when I was a kid, like I always say this all the time, like I would go to like the Smoky Mountains down in Tennessee, or we go to like the Grand Canyon, all these national parks and whatever. And most of the people I would see that are working in these places were just white guys. And I was like, hey, there's, I kind of want to, well, why don't I see anybody that looks like me? Like, I kind of want to be like that face to like show like more African Americans or Hispanic or Asian or like just, yeah, people of color, that hey, you guys can work in these fields too. Like this is something like that should be inclusive for everybody, not just like one specific type of people. So I think, yeah, number one, I just try to kind of be that face and like that voice for people to like, hey, like you guys can do this. And I think the other thing too is there's kind of like this lingering stereotype that, oh, black people shouldn't be in like the forest, because, and I think it actually stems back, when I put it into perspective, to slavery days. I mean, like when we were like enslaved, I mean, we were in very rural, kind of like forested areas, like areas that a lot of like African Americans would not want to go back to now because I feel like of that traumatic kind of almost PTSD mindset that like, hey, we associate a forest with slavery, which is kind of insane. So I think that I'm trying to like change that narrative of like, hey, like you can go into a forest and associate that with healing, associate that with being outside, associate that with like the species that live in there. Like you don't have to associate this with this kind of negative, dark connotation. Which I would say like if you have a bad memory of a place, like let's say you went to a waterfall and like that was the place that your girlfriend broke up with you, the easiest way to break that memory is to go back there and to make a better memory. So I think that that's kind of like a little bit of like my philosophy is that, hey, okay, this forest down in the south maybe had a bad memory of something terrible that happened there in 1775 or whatever. I want to go back into that forest and bring like a kid or bring like a family member, or bring somebody to have a better experience with it. So then they associate that place with like a good time. So I think that's been just kind of my mission is trying to like reshape this kind of, I don't know, like yeah, untrue narrative that yeah, forests and outdoor spaces and like these wilderness spots are just they're not dark evil places. And like yeah, I mean obviously some terrible things have happened in them, but the land itself is healing, and I want people to just experience that because nature has definitely healed me in a lot of different ways, and it heals most people that go into it. Now obviously, yeah, like it's not fun to be dealing with mosquitoes and gnats and all the other things that we don't typically enjoy. But there is a lot of like joy that you can find with just going into outdoor space and really just immersing yourself into it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me because in my ignorance, initially when I asked a couple of people, why is the outdoors so white? If we can
Yeah.
be frank, and people, it's just not. I would ask some African American friends, and they would say, oh, it's just not something on our radar. And
Hmm.
I kind of left it at that. But then I really did. As the more we talked, there was generational trauma
Hmm.
that had stemmed from that, and it was a fascinating subject. But I love what you said about it being for healing
Yeah.
because that's one of the reasons I love being outdoors.
Yeah.
I can really clear my mind out of all the noise and the distractions and deal with whatever it is internally I need to deal
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
because it's just me and the trail.
Yeah.
It's so healing and so powerful.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I
Yeah,
think that that's just the other thing. That it's just one of those things too that I've been also trying to encourage like people of color that when they like say comments like that, oh, it's not on our radar. Oh, that's only like a white people's kind of sport, or like, oh, that's only something that like people that yeah are just of like different races do. Like I know an example is that like a lot of black people still are in this narrative of like, oh well, we don't go into the ocean because like I can't swim, or we don't want to go to the lake because like that's not something we do. I don't want to get my hair wet, blah blah blah. And I still think that, like you said, that's from generational trauma of like the transatlantic slave trade and all of that kind of throwing people overboard. It's like almost like there's still this fear of water, which is crazy. So I think the other thing too is that yeah, a lot of times in the past, like it was kind of sad because black people that did get interested into like that kind of world or Hispanics or whatever, there was kind of like gatekeeping in the past because of yeah, like the Jim Crow laws or like different things like that, where they weren't even allowed to go to like let's say the Grand Canyon or I mean that's just a rough like example, but or they weren't allowed to go to like their neighborhood pool, they weren't allowed to go to like the Great Lakes or things like that. So I think now I'm still trying to break that narrative. Like, hey, you guys, that was a terrible time. Like, it sucks that we weren't allowed to go to those places, but we are allowed to go there now. So let's like get rid of that agenda that hey, like people are gonna gatekeep from you going there. That oh, some traumatic thing's gonna happen. That oh, like you can't get your hair wet. Like, go enjoy it. Like, it's worth enjoying. And I think the outdoors is something that everybody like we were outdoors longer than we were indoors. I think everybody needs to get that experience before they just try to shut it down because yeah, when people were in nature, like I said, we were connected to nature way longer than we were connected to AI and to computers and to Xbox and all this other stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, another long answer for a short question. So
No, I love it because, like I said, it just leads to more thoughts and more questions. And
Yeah.
this is going back about 10 or 15 years. I've got nothing against Oprah Winfrey whatsoever, but I never really watched her chat show. But I did watch one episode, and I need to try and find it again, where she went camping in Yosemite with
Yeah.
her friend Gail King. And they interviewed an African American park ranger who was one of literally just a handful in the nation. And
Yeah.
they had a very fresh, organic, eye-opening discussion
Yeah.
about a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. And
Yeah.
it's now old enough. It'd be really interesting to revisit that if I can find it online to see how things have changed.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Because it
Yeah.
was just it was yeah, it was really really good. I'll share it with you if I find it.
No, I love it
Um, but
because that's the thing I have noticed too is that I feel like there is like this shift starting to happen where we are
yeah,
starting to see a little bit like more people of color into these fields. I mean, even just from when I first came down here to New Mexico, like yeah, like I was the only like person of color on like my trail crew, as well as when I was like an outdoor trek leader, as well as a park ranger. I mean, I was literally the only in our whole division of open space, the only black person in that like division. But then nowadays, like in the division I work now, we have a couple people of color. That's just really exciting to see. And I think that's maybe what social media like. That's a plus of social media is like it's starting to like open the door that was not open for the longest time to show people that we can do these kind of jobs. I actually did a podcast. This was probably a year or two ago. I think yeah, almost 3 years ago now. I think of it. Called the Black Park Ranger Experience, and there's this guy out in L.A. and he was a Black Park Ranger for I can't remember the name of the park that he worked at, but yeah, he just kind of went on this journey of finding different park rangers that were people of color all around the nation. And yeah, I think most people, like you said kind of similar stories that like, hey, I'm the only person of color in my field or my division or my agency or whatever. And I think it was crazy because even just from that podcast till now, I've seen just more of a growth of people of color. So I think whatever movement's happening, I don't know what to classify it as. It's working, I think. So it's like I guess that's a plus for sure.
oh, absolutely, and you're right. It's probably there's obviously pros and cons to everything, including social media. But I imagine that's one of the biggest pros
Yeah.
is that there's a lot of people who, they people of color who are outdoors and they want to expose the outdoors to more people, so they
Mm,
create a platform from themselves and normalizing it for everybody. And
exactly.
I just don't think we can stress how important that is.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, for
um, yeah, yeah, it's something I've always worked in what we call here Title One schools, which is low socioeconomic schools,
mm-hmm.
and it's just been such a passion of mine to ensure that everyone knows. Like my classroom, my offices, everything's always had an outdoors theme,
Yes.
because I always find it's a good icebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, what's that? What's that? I'm from there. I'm from here,
Yeah.
and just trying to stress that this is not for me. This is for all of us.
Yes.
Whether that's the local park or a national park, they're
Mhm.
made for everybody.
Yes.
And I just love that you are fighting that good fight too.
Definitely. And I
Just
think
making sure
that's
that everyone knows.
and speaking of what you said, too, I think that's also like part of the fight now is just trying to get more youth and kids into the outdoors because I think that's one of the negatives of social media is that we have so much technology now around it that people just don't have the need to want to go outside. They're like, oh well, why go out and get sweaty and get dirty and stuff, and I can just look at this beautiful view on TikTok or whatever. So yeah, and that's the thing. Like being an outdoor like educator for a little while, I noticed, I mean, there were kids I'd take out on the hiking trail and they had never even been on a trail before. Like they were stumbling over a twig or like they didn't really know what to do. Like if, oh, it started raining and like put their rain jacket on. They just had never had exposure to that. So, yeah, I think getting kids outside and having them not only have a experience with nature, but having now like a love and a respect for it, like that's going to keep these agencies alive and keep people like wanting to protect spaces because they care about them.
I couldn't agree more. Now, you dropped one word in at the beginning of our conversation here that I'm going to latch on to because I've watched just enough Homestead Rescue to be dangerous and get stupid ideas in my head. Talk to me about your homesteading. What's that like? Why do you do it? The pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
love to hear a little bit about what that means on a day to day basis for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, it was kind of crazy. So, I think what started this whole journey. was me being a kid going down to Tennessee, because we go down to Tennessee every fall and we'd stay in a little cabin, and like it was super cool. Like I loved it. I mean, we had a wood burning stove in the cabin, and we'd go explore like Gatlinburg, which is a really cool little town. I mean, not even little anymore. It's grew pretty cool quickly. But yeah, when I was like a kid, I was like, yeah, I one day I kind of want to build a little cabin. So I remember going back into like the forest on our house, and we build like little like stick structure cabins. I mean, of course, they would never last because we were 8 years old trying to build a house or whatever. But yeah, that was something that I kind of just kept that dream, like going into like my teenage years and adult years and all that. And yeah, in 2020, like right actually before the pandemic had started, um, I bought an acre of land way out here, in, like I said, rural Rio Rancho in New Mexico. And I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, hey, you know what? I have this land now. I want to put something on it, but I don't really know like the loops, like, because nobody had ever educated me on how to build a house or anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like dive into this and see what happens. So yeah, in 21, I started building my first little cabin here on this property. And yeah, I mean, the first year was definitely rough. Like it had an outhouse outside. Like, I didn't really know about like, okay, the right depth to bury water lines. So all my pipes were freezing and bursting all the time. I didn't have an air conditioner. So yeah, when we had these 100-degree days, like I was just like sitting in front of a window fan, like trying to hopefully survive. So yeah, the first year was a tad tough, but then it's like from every like mistake, like there was like a learning opportunity. And so then actually when I met my fiance, which was not my fiance at the time, she was my girlfriend, I told her, I was like, hey, like I have this cabin, and I was almost kind of embarrassed to talk about it because it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it at first. And I was like, yeah, I got this cabin and I kind of want to like maybe expand on it and blah blah blah. And like she was like why not? She's like, oh well, like let's build it together. And I was like, really? So yeah, I started this whole journey of we actually the house that we're in right now is our second kind of off grid house. And this one actually has like more like modern amenities. It has like air conditioning. It has functional water lines that don't blow up and whatever. And it's just really cool. Like we saw this transition going from like this old rugged cabin. So now we actually have like a little off-grid house, which is really exciting. And we still have the old cabin to go back into and hang out and be like, oh, like we started from this to now this. So I would say some of the pros definitely of the off-grid life for me is number one, I'm in my own kind of like wilderness preserve being out here. Like I see antelope, I see rattlesnakes, I see like wild like feral horses. Like I see all kind of different just variety of animals out here, which is really, really cool. I say another pro for sure is that we don't have a mortgage. Like we don't have a mortgage, we don't have rent. Like we basically live out here almost essentially for free. I mean, obviously we have to like bring in like fuel and materials and things like that, which costs money, but it's a lot cheaper to live out here than it is to like go rent an apartment in the city. Another pro of it too is that yeah, we can kind of design this land how we want to. Like we put like a little like kind of walking trail on the back end of the property that we'll go and walk in the evening time and see like what animals we see. We put a little fire pit area so when we have friends over, like they can come and enjoy the like bonfire and see under the stars. And that's just the other pro I was gonna say too, is that because since we are out of the city, the stars out here are just incredible at night. Like we can just see just the Milky Way. We can see like all the different lights, like not solar system, different like planets from like eyeball. Like you can see Mars. Like it's just it looks literally like we're in a planetarium every night, which is really really cool. But on that note, too, that leads to kind of the cons of it is that number one, with the whole like being in like a natural nature preserve, it's like, yeah, we're constantly having to deal with wildlife. I mean, we had a time before we like fenced in the whole property where the horses were coming in and they were destroying things. Like they were ripping stuff out the ground, they were stomping on things. And they were just a nuisance for a while. And they're beautiful animals, but they just really, really caused a lot of problems. We've had a time when we had last summer, we had this tiny little gap right where the drain comes out of the tub that mice were getting like into that drain. So we had like this whole mouse invasion for like a portion of last summer. And that was a dilemma. And we finally closed off that tiny little gap and that solved the problem. But it's just insane to think that when you're out here in nature, like animals are gonna find a way to get into things if they can. Um the other con too is that since we are kind of far out here, I mean, we have to drive up a 4 mile dirt road to get here. And me working like in Albuquerque, like it takes sometimes 45 minutes to an hour just to get to work. And depending on conditions, I mean, if we have a rainstorm and the whole dirt road like gets all muddy or floods out, then that's a dilemma. Or another common problem we have out here is wind. So the road gets really washboardy and like it creates these tiny little like almost like waves in the road where it's just like your car is just constantly bumping, and that's can lose like mess up your suspension and loosen bolts, and that's been an issue. And then the kind of yeah like third issue is that since we're all off the grid, if something breaks, like I can't just be like, hey, like guy, come out here and fix our heater. Like it comes down to like either I'm fixing it or I'm paying somebody double to come out here to like brave the dirt road and brave
Right.
the journey to come out here. So it's a lot of like ingenuity and a lot of just like I don't know, like left brain thinking that like okay, like the hose busted, like what do I do with this hose? Like how can I use what we have around here to kind of fix things up? So like I said, it's a beautiful lifestyle and it's beautiful, it's great. And I mean most people are always like, oh, I'm jealous, I want land, but I'm like, be careful what you ask because it definitely is a lot. It's a lot sometimes.
Oh
So
yeah, I think a lot of us, myself, I'm very guilty of this, can over romanticize it.
yeah,
And now, of course, there are lots of pros to it, but you don't always see the hard work and the mice and the you can't just run to Lowe's to get the piece of pipe you need and be back in 10 minutes.
exactly.
The hard reality.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Now I've
that's
got
yeah.
yeah. Don't go. Yeah, it's about. I would imagine though. I think everybody I've ever asked about homesteading has said, yeah, there's pros, there's cons, but no regrets. Like
Yeah,
they
a
wouldn't
hundred
change
percent,
it. They wouldn't go back to the city.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
before
I
I,
feel.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's absolutely fine. I've got, I think, four more questions I'd like to ask you. Three of
Yeah.
them I should have prepared you for, but it's a lot more fun if I don't. So the first one is, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
I would say patience, like just patience and trusting yourself. I think that's the biggest thing about me is that for the longest period of my life, like I'd like things going fast paced, like just oh, like you got to get this done, blah blah blah, and like there's so much pressure, like, and it's just like, and then my like dad, like, I mean, I love my dad. He's been like the role model of my life, but I think sometimes that he would put sometimes unnecessary pressures on me to achieve different things. Of hey, make sure you're getting straight A's, make sure like when you're running track like that, you're like going as hard as you can in practice and winning the race. And sometimes I felt like that ingrained in my brain, like this kind of rushed mentality and like this unnecessary pressure. And sometimes like I wouldn't trust myself to do that. So I would purposely, I don't know, try to speed through the process because I always felt like I was gonna fail if I took my time in it, if that makes any sense at all. So
It
I
makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah. So the first, yeah, advice I tell myself as younger is yeah, patience and just trusting yourself, even if it takes a little bit longer to achieve a certain goal. Like you're gonna get it done. Like no matter what. Like even if it's something that doesn't turn out exactly how you imagine it the first time, it's gonna turn out better than you imagined it. Um. So yeah, that would be 1,000% what I would tell myself.
I love it. I think that's good advice for us all. Um, you wake up tomorrow morning and you have won $10,000, but you're not allowed to pay any bills with it. No adulting. Nothing too responsible. What would you do with it?
I would.
Really, now I'm thinking about your homestead, but you can do whatever you want. But yeah, no bills or anything mundane or boring.
I would honestly, and I know like this is probably unrealistic considering how expensive everything is, but I would book a trip to visit one country in every continent on Earth. Like I would book one ticket to
Yes.
go to like Spain, maybe to go like someplace in Europe. I'd go to Ivory Coast in Africa. I'd go to Australia. I'd just pick one country out of every continent and just go there. I mean, maybe not Antarctica because yeah, I don't like being cold that much.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, one I would just find one plane ticket to go. Yeah, basically traverse the entire world.
I love it. A goal of mine, and I wouldn't even say it's a bucket list item because the odds of it ever happening are minuscule. I'd love to do that, like a round the world ticket, and visit schools in
That
every continent just to see
oh,
what's the same and what's different,
that's
basically.
that's
So
beautiful.
I love that idea. Um, Do you have a book, a movie, or a piece of art, or even a song that has had an impact in your life? And what impact would that be?
So I would say movie for sure has been Indiana Jones. So I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a hat wearing man, and that's actually something I talked about in another podcast that I was on one time. Is yeah, think I watched Indiana Jones the first time when I think it was like 9 or 10 years old. And yeah, when I was actually, it was 10 because, yeah, my 10th birthday is when I got my first kind of like fedora, kind of Indiana Jones style hat. And I don't know, those movies just kind of sparked an interest and adventure for me. Like, I would see him go to like the lands of Egypt and like look for the Ark of Covenant. And like he would go to like Peru with the Crystal Skull and all this craziness. And something about that movie was just like, man, this guy, like, he's invincible. Like, he can go do all these crazy things. And to me, like, as a little kid, like, I was like, oh, it's his hat. His hat's the thing that's keeping him, like, alive in all these expeditions and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, kind of starting out as a kid, like, I would always have a hat and I'd go journey out into, like, the forest or we do, like, these hikes. And I never would, like, leave anywhere without my hat. And just, I don't know, like, growing up as a teenager, I kind of put that aside. Like I was like, oh, that's weird. Like I don't want to do that. Like kids are gonna judge me. Like I'll put my hat aside. But like something inside me was like, hey, pick up the hat again. Like that's a person, a character trait of yours. Like you shouldn't hide it away. And I guess meeting like people as in my adult years, like these ranchers and people who were homesteaders and people who were park rangers and all these different folks and like they sported their hats and I was like who am I to not like sport something that is a big part of me? So yeah, to this day, like I mean I always kind of sport some kind of style of hat, whether it's like the traditional kind of 5 gallon or 5 gallon, 10 gallon cowboy hat or a fedora,
Yeah.
like the Tilly hat or just whatever. And it's something that, yeah, I don't know if Indiana Jones led me on that journey or if it just made me feel like a sense of protection with it. And also just being in the Southwest, you kind of need a hat considering it's 100 degrees and straight sun. So yeah, it has some
Right.
functionality to it besides just like a fashion statement. But yeah, Indiana Jones for sure. That definitely was one that just, I don't know, it stuck me from me being a child till now, me being almost 30. So
I love it. I'm so the listeners out there. Obviously, this is just an audio podcast, but Zach and I can see each other, and I love that. I said I had four questions. I've asked you three, and I'm going to see if I can show Zach my fourth question.
let's see.
Might be backwards.
Yeah, move it over just a tad to the left. Oh, there you go. Perfect. So tell me about
Yeah,
your.
the fourth question was tell me about your hat,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I
So
would
for
say
sure.
most. Yeah, I love that you brought that in because most of the videos, pictures you post, it's an awesome looking hat,
Yeah,
and
thank
it
you.
was obviously part of who you are. It's
Yeah.
so I love that that has been tied into the movie. Um, yeah, that's
it's
fantastic.
it's
Well,
so cool.
I
Yeah.
tell you, we're kind of wrapping this up here, but I'd love to hear where can people find you if they'd like to get in touch with you, find out more about your work. What's the best way for people to find you?
Yeah, so I mean, I would definitely say yeah, first route is Instagram. Like I'm like I feel like that's been kind of my platform where I've connected with people the most. So yeah, my Instagram's the first Black Bandit, which actually that name derived from my hat, like in seventh grade. Yeah, I was out like somewhere like in the Bosque just exploring with my friend and I had my hat on and he's like, he's like, you're like the first like black guy I've ever seen in a cowboy hat. He's like, you might as well be the first Black Bandit. And I was like, that's a cool name. And then like that became my Instagram name when I was, geez, like I think back in like 2012 or 2013 or something, and it's just never changed. So I know some people are like, oh, like that's a kid name. You need to grow up out of that, blah blah blah. And I was like, but something about that experience and him saying that sparked that. So yeah, you type in the first Black Bandit or just Zach Darden, I'll pop up. And same with Facebook too. Like I'm also on Facebook, so people type in Zach Darden. Um, on there, I feel like I'm a little bit more formal than I am on Instagram. And Instagram, like you see more of like my kind of truer self and personality. But yeah, like either way, people can find me, and I'm not somebody that's like, oh, like I'm really reserved. Like I'm an open book. Like people can ask me whatever, and I'm always willing to just yeah be that avenue of answering. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the theme of this conversation: is being an open book and talking about all manner of different things. It's been a tremendous conversation. Zach, I cannot thank you enough for being on the podcast. Thank you. Have you got any final
Yeah,
thoughts you'd like to share?
absolutely. Yeah, no, just once again, yeah, number one, just thank you for even, yeah, taking your time to put me on this podcast, and hopefully I didn't talk too fast or get redundant or whatnot. Like once I get excited about conversation, I just start going like a million miles an hour, and it can get kind of confusing for some people. So hopefully everything was clear. Hopefully people get something out of it. And I always like to leave people with my favorite quote. That's not all who wander are lost. Like there's always so many things to see and explore in this world. So yeah, just get out there and just enjoy your life. Don't get stuck in like the premise that, oh, I can't go do this because of my insecurities or fears or like past traumas. Like just get out there and see the world. I mean, we're only here once in theory, so might as well go see as much of it as we can.
I couldn't agree more. Zach, thank you very much for being here with me today on the Outdoorsy Educator podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. And hopefully if you have any more podcasts in the future, please invite me back.
Without a doubt, I will do. Thank you again to this week's guest, and I hope today's episode was as enjoyable for you as it was for me, and perhaps even inspired your next adventure. If you did enjoy the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find more information at theoutdoorseyeducator.com or follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast.